Bella and Shelley are sisters and best friends. One weekend, their parents went on vacation. Before leaving, they strictly forbade Bella and Shelley to have parties in the house. But the sisters didn't listen and invited all their friends as soon as their parents left. After the party, the entire house was a mess. So, Bella and Shelley hired a cleaning lady to get rid of any evidence of the party. When their parents arrived home, their mother, Jessica, began to yell, "I told you, no parties in this house!" How did she know? The house is too clean. There was dust on this glass vase when the parents left, but now it's fresh and clean. Jessica asked Bella and Shelley to mow the backyard lawn. None of the sisters wanted to do this annoying task. So, Shelley offered an easy way out. She put 2 cards in a hat and said, "I wrote mow on the first card and chill on the second. Pull a card and choose your destiny." Bella wasn't so naive. She suspected that Shelley was cheating and put both cards with mow written on them. But no one would believe her if she just tried to expose Shelley. And no one would look at the other card once her fate was decided. What should she do? When asked to draw a card, Bella should pick any and destroy the paper without looking at it. In this case, to decide her fate, they'll have to look at the other card, which also says mow. And this will mean that Shelley should mow the lawn. Over a cup of tea, Bella bet Shelley $10 that she could convert her $50 into $100. Do you think Shelley should accept the bet? There's no logical reason behind accepting it. If Bella isn't able to convert the money, she'll lose the bet. But she has only $10 to lose. Meanwhile, Shelley is supposed to be giving her $50 from her wallet. Thus, even if Shelley wins the bet, she'll still lose $40. Bella and Shelley have a certain number of candies. If Bella gives 1 candy to Shelley, they'll have an equal number of candies. But if Shelley gives 1 candy to Bella, then Shelley will be left with half the number of candies that Bella has. Can you find out the number of candies they have right now? Let's use some math to figure it out. Right now, Shelley has X candies and Bella has Z candies. Now we can sum it up in these equations. X plus 1 equals Z minus 1. Therefore, Z minus X equals 2. Also, X minus 1 equals Z plus 1 divided by 2. Now we know that 2X minus Z equals 3. So, if we equate these two conclusions, we'll get the following. X plus 2 equals 2X minus 3. Now we know that X equals 5 and Z equals 7. Therefore, Shelley has 5 candies and Bella has 7 candies. Shelley was doing laundry and found out that her favorite t-shirt got torn. Can you count the exact number of holes in her t-shirt? The answer is not 3 or 6, which most people must be guessing. The correct number of holes is 10. 1 hole for the neck, 2 holes for the arms, 1 hole for the torso, 3 holes in the front, and 3 holes in the back. Bella went to the basement to find her old books. Suddenly, the bulb burned out. Bella took the new bulb to replace it, but the wires are very tangled. Can you find the correct switch that will turn on the bulb? It's the red switch. The best way to get the answer is to start from the bulb. It's been a long day. Bella finally went to sleep. But when she saw her bedroom, she yelled and ran away. Can you tell what's wrong here? Did you notice this zombie? Bella ran to the living room and shut the door. Is she safe here? Nope. Take a look at the mirror. Some stranger is inside the room. Bella and Shelley went hiking with their friends. 4 of them went into a completely empty lake. And then 8 people came out. How is this possible? Four people were sitting on the shoulders of the other 4 when they were getting inside the lake. The guys made a stop to have a picnic. They began to play football. During their play, Bella's boyfriend, Rob, busted his lips and ears and broke a couple of ribs and thighs. However, he still managed to play a professional match the very next day. How can this be possible? Rob knocked on his food plate accidentally while playing. He had pig lips, ears, and ribs, along with chicken thighs. When he knocked on his plate, he busted his food. On the way home, the guys went through a field. They saw a cow. It walked 30 feet north, 30 feet east, 30 feet south, and finally walked 30 feet west. All this time, where was its tail pointing? Can you solve this mystery? Downwards, of course. The guys rented 4 scooters in 4 different places and hit the road. They agreed to meet in a cafe at the gas station. Here's the map. Can you tell which scooter will reach the destination first? The third one. Bella and Shelley were trying to get the perfect gift for their father's birthday. Finally, they found this beautiful vintage watch, but they couldn't afford it. The seller offered them a deal. "Solve my riddle, and I'll make a 90% discount." The sisters agreed. The seller took out a $50 bill and asked, "What's the easiest way to double my money?" Can you help them solve this mystery? They should put the bill in front of a mirror. The sisters decided to have lunch in a cozy little cafe. The cook offered them tomato soup, mushroom salad, chicken wings, octopus, and mushroom pizza. Can you help them choose the safest food? There are mirror shards in these chicken wings. Probably not the healthiest option. I'm pretty sure those mushrooms are poisonous too. This octopus is still alive, and this soup must be several weeks old. So, Bella and Shelley should choose the mushroom pizza. After lunch, the local barista offered the sisters free coffee if they managed to solve his tricky riddle. Here's the task. Name a 10-letter word in English that can be typed using only the top rows of your computer keyboard. Can you help the ladies get their free coffee? And the correct answer is typewriter. Great job! Shelley got a job at a restaurant. One night, a cook, a cobbler, and a doctor went to dinner together and asked Shelley to split the bill equally among them. When the bill arrived, it was for 4 people. How can this be possible? The 4th person was the knight. It was just misspelled as night. Shelley and Bella were walking down the street. Suddenly, they saw this creepy shadow. Can you guess what's going on here? Should they be worried? Nope. It's Halloween. The guy is just walking around and scaring people in his witch costume. See, he's wearing sneakers. Shelley and Bella saw this mysterious magic shop sign and decided to go get some tarot readings. As soon as they entered the shop, a wicked witch locked the door and said, "I will make your biggest dreams come true if you crack my code. But if you fail, you'll stay here forever." Then she gave them the following clues. A. 981. One number is perfectly placed. B. 924. Everything is incorrect. C. 093. Two numbers are part of the code, but are in the wrong places. D. 147. One number is part of the code, but is in the wrong place. E. 783. One number is part of the code, but is in the wrong place. Can you help Shelley and Bella? From clues A and B, we learned that 9 is not in the code. It also means that 8 or 1 is in the code for sure. According to clue B, we know that 9, 2, and 4 are not in the code. From clue C, we know that 0 and 3 are in the final code. Clue E tells us that 7 and 8 are not in the final code because we already know that 3 is. And clue D tells us that 1 is also in the code because 4 and 7 are not. So, the correct code is 301. The witch has fulfilled Shelley and Bella's wishes. They wanted to thank her and decided to prepare her favorite drink from a recipe book. Unfortunately, the last ingredient was encrypted. Can you help them crack the code? They should add a tear of a Triton. After visiting the witch, Shelley met a handsome guy, Tom. They had a perfect date. Shelley couldn't believe that he was real. She thought it was an illusion created by the witch's spell. So she decided to test the guy's logical skills. She showed him this list and asked just one question. What do these words have in common? Can you help Tom? If we remove the first letter of each word and place it in the end, you'll be able to read the same word from the beginning and the end. Can you figure out the next number in this sequence? It's 2. To make the puzzle seem harder, all digits are placed apart. In fact, the sequence consists of 2 different sequences. The first one is 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And the second sequence is 9, 18, 36, 72, and so on. Now it's obvious that the next digit should be 2.
Mr. and Mrs. Luce have 7 daughters. Each daughter has 1 brother. Can you tell how many people there are in the family? The correct answer is 10. Mr. Luce, Mrs. Luce, 7 daughters, and 1 brother. Dr. Luce is a world-famous chemist.
Wow.
He has just arrived in London to attend an international science seminar. The next morning, the lab cleaner found Dr. Luce unconscious on the floor. One of the 6 lab assistants poisoned the chemist. The names of the 6 assistants are Austin, William, Oscar, Leo, DJ, and Robert. To solve this case, lab managers called the local detective, Mr. Smith. Dr. Luce left this mysterious note on the table. Here's what he wrote: 76, 20, 44, 79, 16, 22, 7. After reading the note, Mr. Smith asked the police to arrest 2 criminals. Who are the criminals? Oscar and Dustin. Remember that Dr. Luce is a chemist? He encrypted the names of his enemies using the periodic table hanging on the wall. Dr. Luce got better and returned to his work in the lab. He invited a young scientist, Oscar, for a job interview. His resume was too good to be true, so Dr. Luce decided to check Oscar's logical thinking. He offered Oscar to solve this number puzzle. Oscar cracked this task right away. What about you? Here's a little hint. You should read this puzzle from left to right and from top to bottom. Question 1. What are the next 2 rows of numbers? And question 2. Why? Here's the correct answer. Line 3 represents 2 1s. Line 4 then becomes 1 2 and 1 1. Line 5, therefore, is 1 1, 1 2, and 2 1s. Using the same logic, we can now decode line 6, 3 1s, 2 2s, and 1 1. Line 7 is 1 3, 1 1, 2 2s, and 2 1s. Dr. Luce hired Oscar and took him to the basement of the lab, but someone has changed the password on the door. Can you help the guys guess the code? This rebus is a hint. The correct password is summary. Dr. Luce offered one more riddle to his new employee.
How can a man go 8 days without sleep?
Can you help Oscar crack this one? The correct answer is easily, because people sleep at night. In the basement, Dr. Luce found out that someone had stolen his latest innovation, a superhero costume.
Oh no!
He had questioned 3 suspects. Jack, the cleaner, said,
I've been cleaning the floor in the hallway all morning. I haven't entered your office yet.
Peter, the lab assistant, said, I was working on my own project, and besides, I don't have a key to your private office. And Dr. Luce's wife, Helen, said, You never tell me anything about your work. How would I know what to steal? Dr. Luce took fingerprints from the closet where the costume was. But he found only his own fingerprints. Who stole the costume? It was Helen. She's the only one who's wearing gloves.
Oh.
After a short interrogation, Helen confessed that she had sold the costume to Dr. Luce's major enemy, Dr. Phillips. Dr. Luce went to his lab to take his invention back. A creepy guard stopped Dr. Luce at the entrance and asked for a password. Can you help Dr. Luce find out the code? See the sign on the wall? You should rearrange these letters to spell just a single word. So, the correct password is a single word. Dr. Luce entered the building and found himself in a strange place guarded by 2 people. One of the guards always says the truth, while the other one always lies. Dr. Luce doesn't know who is who. He can only ask one question to escape. What should he ask? If he asks the guard who always tells the truth, he would tell that the other guard would point to the dangerous door. And if he asks the guard who always lies, he would tell the opposite door of the truth-telling guard and point to the dangerous door. In either case, both guards will point to the dangerous door, and then Dr. Luce should just choose the other door. Dr. Luce entered the room and saw this group of scientists. Can you spot anything weird in this picture? The scientists are holding 4 slices of pizza in their hands, but only 3 pieces are missing from the pizza box. Dr. Luce entered Dr. Phillips's office. The room was empty. Can you help him find anything suspicious? Someone is hiding in the ceiling vent. Suddenly, Dr. Luce saw Dr. Phillips flying around in the superhero costume. He grabbed Dr. Luce, took him to the top of a mountain, and left him there alone. Dr. Luce wandered around and found 3 tunnels. There's an angry, hungry lion in the first tunnel. There's a huge fire in the second tunnel. And the third tunnel leads through a dinosaur lair. Which way should Dr. Loose choose? The third one. Dinosaurs became extinct millions of years ago. Dr. Loose came to a village and asked the local farmer, Rick, for a glass of water. Rick told him that he'd been struggling to divide his entire land between his two sons. Both of the sons have been very good to him. And now Rick's only wish is to treat his sons fairly and divide his land equally between them. But the problem is that the land has a weird shape, and thus there's no way to split it into two equal halves. Dr. Loose said,
I have an idea. It can guarantee that the land will be divided in a manner that will satisfy both sons.
Can you guess what's on his mind? All Rick needs to do is ask one of his sons to divide the land into two parts and tell him that the other son will have the choice of selecting one of those two halves. In this manner, both of them will avoid any tricks and divide the land equally. Dr. Loose was sitting at the local restaurant. He was sad because he'd lost his wallet during his adventures. He noticed a man next to him pulling a wad of $100 notes out of his pocket. Dr. Loose turned to the rich guy and said,
Hey, I have an amazing talent. I know almost every song that has ever existed.
The rich guy laughed. Dr. Loose then said,
I'm willing to bet you all the money you have in your wallet that I can sing a genuine song with a lady's name of your choice in it.
The rich man laughed again and said, Okay, how about my wife's name? Helga, Fiona, Mary, Rose, Holmes. This evening the rich man went home poor, and Dr. Loose went home rich. What song did he sing? The Happy Birthday Song. The villagers told Dr. Loose mystical legends about the local forest. He liked creepy stories and decided to go there and see it for himself. He set off at night and soon got to the forest. He noticed a small shop nearby. The seller said, Hey bro, don't go to this forest unequipped. Take this magic potion. It will make any creepy monster fall asleep for 10 hours. Dr. Loose took one bottle and continued the journey. He wandered there for several hours, but he didn't see anything mysterious. Dr. Loose was about to leave right before dawn. Someone appeared in front of him. A pair of vampires that feed on humans and a siren who hunts people using her singing. So there are 3 enemies, but Dr. Loose has only one potion. What should he do? The sun will rise in a few seconds and vampires will run away. That's why he should pour the potion at the siren. Dr. Loose found an abandoned castle. As soon as he entered, someone locked the door. Dr. Loose found 3 ways out, but all of them were dangerous. The first path was full of hungry wolves. It was impossible to get through. The second passage was guarded by 5 vacuum cleaner robots that were reprogrammed to hunt down humans. And the third passage was filled with molten lava. What door should he choose? The second one. The vacuum cleaners might go after him, but they're pretty harmless. Finally, Dr. Loose returned to his hometown. He's also a college teacher. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough time to prepare for the upcoming class. Therefore, he offered the students this tricky lesson. There was no homework, assignments, or tests, but there was a final test that would have only one question on it. When everyone received the test, it was a blank sheet of paper with a question on it. What is risk? Most students managed to give their answers, but only one student deserved the highest grade.
Yes!
That's weird because he only wrote down one word. What did he write? His reply was this. Dr. Loose went on a business trip to Vienna. He felt very nervous because he was about to meet a lady he used to date in college, Jane. She's also a scientist who's currently working on immortality pills. That's why she asked Dr. Loose to come over and help her. As soon as he entered her office, he knew that something had gone wrong. 3 zombies were standing in the room. Can you tell which one is his ex-girlfriend? Take a look at Dr. Loose's hand. He has a tattoo, T plus J. So his girlfriend is the second zombie because she has a tag on her foot that says Jane.
There was a heist in the Great Museum of Art. A very valuable and important painting was stolen. A detective investigated the crime scene and managed to find the person who had stolen the painting. However, when the detective asked the thief to give it back, the criminal gave him 3 copies of the same painting. He refused to tell the police which one was original. But the detective immediately figured it out. How do you think he did it? Do you see that each painting has a different frame? But only one of them is similar to the frames of other paintings in the museum. And since this museum is known to use the same style of frames, this one is the original painting. Jeremy was accepted to the best school of witchcraft and wizardry. One of the classes he had to take was about transforming into animals. 3 professors taught that class, and each of them specialized in transforming into one certain animal. Can you tell which professor turns into what kind of animal? Do you see that the first professor has a forked tongue? She must transform into a snake. Have you noticed that the second professor has a lion's tail? Her animal must be a lion. And do you see bear claws the third professor has? Then he must turn into a grizzly bear. Tony was going to study abroad for 1 semester. He flew into another country, found his new dorm where he was going to stay, and unpacked his stuff. Then he called his parents to inform them he'd arrived. They asked him, "What time is it there?" Tony was pretty tired and jet-lagged, so he couldn't immediately tell what time it was. Can you help Tony figure out the time? Look, the Eiffel Tower and Sydney Opera House views are just posters, but you can actually see Mount Fuji through the window. So, Tony is in Tokyo, and it's 8:45 there. Carly, Zoe woke up one day and found themselves in a weird place that looked like a jail. Which of them will be able to escape? Carly can escape because the bars of her prison cell are made of wax. She'll be able to use the candle on the floor behind her back to melt them. Zoe can also escape. Do you see several rats in the corner that are munching on the bars? It's because the bars of the girl's cell are made of salted breadsticks, and she can eat them and escape. Isabella was a princess and the heir to the throne. One day, an evil witch lured her into an enchanted forest so that she could take over the kingdom. Isabella got lost, but fortunately, she had a magic pendant. The king's magician gave it to her some time ago, claiming it would help her find her way back if she ever got lost. She used the pendant, and 3 spirit animals appeared. The first spirit animal was an owl, the second one was a butterfly, and the third spirit animal was a hawk. Only one of them knew the way back to the castle. But if Isabella chose to follow the wrong animal, she would find herself even further away from her kingdom. Which spirit animal should she follow? Have you noticed the kingdom banner in the throne room? It has a butterfly on it, so it's the official symbol of this kingdom. Isabella should follow the butterfly. Toby was a rich businessman. One day, he came back home from a dinner party and saw that somebody had broken into his house and stolen his expensive watch from his safe. He called the police. They investigated the crime scene and found 3 suspects. Gordon said that at that time, he'd been at home trying to make his teenage kids go to bed. Danny said he'd spent the whole night at a party with his friends. And Matt claimed that he'd been at a movie theater watching a new superhero movie between 12 and 2 a.m. The police immediately realized who'd broken into Toby's house and stolen the watch. Have you figured it out? It was Matt. When Toby arrived home, it was 11:30 p.m., so it doesn't matter where Matt was between 12 and 2 a.m. Elliot was a crazy scientist who was obsessed with the idea of parallel universes. He dedicated his whole life to figuring out how to create portals to other dimensions. One day, he finally succeeded in building a portal machine. When he tried to test it, 3 portals appeared in front of him, and then the machine just blew up. And since he had meddled with the laws of physics, the universe where he lived started to collapse. The scientist had to choose one of the portals to escape through, and fast. The first portal opened to the universe in which Elliot was a supervillain. The second portal opened in the world in which the man was a ruthless king. The third portal opened on the planet where Elliot was an underwater creature. Which portal should he choose? Do you see the portal machine the supervillain Elliot is holding? It's the same as the one that destroyed itself. Apparently, supervillain Elliot is a scientist as well. He might be able to help the real Elliot to bring his original universe back by making a better portal machine. Sally was at a crowded concert. Suddenly, she felt somebody reaching into her bag and pulling out her wallet that only had her credit cards inside. She couldn't see who the person was, but after checking the footage from the surveillance cameras, security guards were able to narrow it down to 3 suspects. Joshua said he had been sharing concert videos on his social media and didn't have anything to do with the theft. Jennifer said she was super rich and didn't need anyone else's wallet with credit cards. She only used cash when she went shopping. Penny said she had been singing along to the song the band had been playing, so she didn't even know what had happened. The security guards immediately figured out who the thief was. Who stole Sally's wallet? Nobody told Jennifer that the wallet contained only credit cards, but somehow she still knew it. She must have stolen it. Mary found a new job in another city, so she had to move. The realtor found 3 options for Mary to choose from and took her to see each of them. First, she brought Mary to apartment number 1, which was located downtown. Second, she took the woman to apartment number 2, which was within walking distance of a subway station. After that, she took Mary to apartment number 3, which was next to a grocery store. Which apartment should Mary choose? Since apartment number 1 has a rat living in it, and apartment number 3 has a crack in one of the walls, Mary should choose apartment number 2. Miss Sanders took her students camping at the weekend. She wanted to tell them about forest plants. During the trip, one of the students wandered off and got lost in the forest. Hours passed, but he couldn't find his way back. The guy felt very hungry, but he didn't have any food with him. That was when he saw 3 different bushes with 3 different kinds of berries in front of him. Only one type of berries was safe to eat, and the other 2 were poisonous. Which berry should he eat as he's waiting to be rescued? Remember the poster that was in the classroom? It stated that these 2 kinds of berries were poisonous, so only these ones are safe to eat. Sandy was driving across the country to visit her family. She was tired of being on the road and wanted to take a break. She saw a diner and stopped there to have something to eat and rest. The diner looked empty, old, and dirty. The waitress told her there were only 3 meal options to choose from and asked her which one she wanted to eat. So, which one looks safe to eat? Do you see the fumes coming from the first meal? They're green. That can't be a good sign. And the third meal has a little bug on it. Yikes! So Sandy should eat the second meal and get the heck out of there. Audrey won the Best Actress Award at a film festival. But when she left the stage and went to give an interview to the reporters, her award was stolen. A police officer arrived and found 3 suspects. The first suspect was Grace, a cleaning lady. She said she had been taking selfies with her favorite celebrities backstage and didn't have anything to do with the award. The second suspect was Gabrielle, a reporter. She said she had stolen the award because she had been with other reporters waiting for her turn to ask Audrey some questions. The third suspect was Catherine, an actress. She said she was not the one who had stolen the award because she'd been among guests watching the show. Besides, she already won the Best Actress Award last year. The police officer knew who was lying. And you? Take a closer look at the selfie Grace took. You can see Catherine behind, sneaking away with the award.
I have a math workout for you today, but first, let's have a little warm-up. How many ducks do you see in this picture? Don't forget about the hidden ones. There are 15 ducks. Did you find them all? Okay, now count all the flowers. Right, there are 17 of them. Can you spot 3 differences between these photos? Here they are. And another one. There are 3 differences again. Do you see them? Okay, here they are. Good job. Okay, now a bit of math for you. Look at this picture. The only number multiplied by itself that gives 25 is 5, so this shape equals 5. This way, the other shape from the second equation is 4. 4 and 6 make 10, so the red circle equals 6. Then, 5 multiplied by 6 gives us 30. This one is similar, but a bit harder, so be very attentive. Okay, 3 pairs of sneakers make 30. Then 1 pair equals 10. Then 1 cat with a whistle must be 5. In this case, 2 whistles equal 4, so 1 whistle is 2. Now the last one. A pair of sneakers is 10. We know that a cat with a whistle is 5, but this kitty doesn't have a whistle. But since a whistle is 2, the cat without a whistle must be 3. And a whistle equals 2. So, it's 10 plus 3 multiplied by 2, which is 16. Ava and Dakota are sisters. When Dakota was 18, Ava was half her age. Now that Dakota is 26, how old is Ava? When Dakota was 18, Ava was 9. So the age difference between the sisters is 9 years. If Dakota is 26 now, then Ava is 17. When Polaris was 16 years old, her mother was 39. If Polaris's mom is twice her daughter's age, how old is Polaris? The age difference between Polaris and her mother is 23 years. That means now, Polaris is 23 and her mom is 46. Yvonne had a big collection of CDs. One day, she decided to clean up her house and counted that she had 172 CDs. She sold them all except for 7 CDs of her favorite singer and 5 CDs of her favorite band. How many CDs does Yvonne have now? Well, if she gave up all but 7 plus 5, it leaves her with 12 CDs. In PE class, all students were standing in a circle. If the 5th student was exactly opposite the 12th student, how many students were in the circle? Between student number 5 and student number 12, there are 6 other students. If these two are opposite each other, then on the other side between them, there are also 6 students. This makes 14 students in the circle. Danica owns a candy store. She sells candy for $0.12 a dozen. How many candy pieces can you get if you have $1? $0.12 for a dozen mean that one candy costs 1 cent. So if you have $1, you can get 100 candies. For casting a spell, Flora should put these stones in the correct order. She has 4 of them: purple, green, red, and blue. The instruction says, 1. The red one only has 1 stone next to it. 2. The green and purple stones aren't next to each other. 3. The green stone is the last one. Can you help Flora? If the red stone only has 1 other stone next to it, then it's either the first one or the last one. But since green is the last one, then red is the first one. If the green and purple stones aren't next to each other, then there's the blue stone between them. So, the correct order is red, purple, blue, and green. It was midday. Kaylin was exploring a big local forest. She found an abandoned mansion and entered it. The door closed behind her back and wouldn't open.
Oh no!
Kaylin got trapped inside. There were 3 other doors leading to freedom, but there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was a huge pit that would take her miles underground. Behind the second door, there was a magnifying glass that concentrated sunlight and burned everybody and everything that entered. Behind the third door, there was a hungry and dangerous lion that would eat anybody and anything that entered.
Uh-oh.
How can Kaylin escape? Kaylin should wait until sunset. When the sun goes down, the second door with the magnifying glass won't be dangerous anymore. Amelia, Belle, Chloe, and Della are identical quadruplets who always prank people. One day, one of the girls' teachers had to let Amelia leave the class early. She had a doctor's appointment, but the woman wasn't sure which girl was Amelia. The quadruplets had decided to help her. Here is what they said. Amelia is one of the girls standing in the middle. No, Amelia is one of the girls standing on the sides. I'm Amelia. I'm not Amelia. 3 girls lied and 1 told the truth. Who is Amelia? If Amelia is the first girl, then 2 girls told the truth, the second and the fourth ones. If Amelia is the second girl, then the first and the fourth girls told the truth. If Amelia is the third girl, then the first and the third ones told the truth. But if Amelia is the fourth girl, then only the second girl told the truth. So, Amelia must be the fourth girl. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She found a witch's house, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to send her home. The witch wanted to play a game. If Esme won, she'd send her home. But if Esme lost, she'd have to stay with the witch forever.
We'll be saying numbers between 1 and 10. The next player will have to choose a number that's between 1 to 10, greater than the previous one. The first person to say 50 wins. You can start.
How can Esme win? If she wants to say 50, she needs the witch to say a number between 40 and 49. So, before 50, she has to say 39. If she wants to say 39, the witch has to say a number between 29 and 38. So, Esme has to say 28, and before that, 17, and before that, 6. So Esme must start with 6 and then say 17, 28, 39, and 50. Cassidy woke up in a dungeon and couldn't remember what happened to her. She needed to get out, but the door was locked and required a password. Can you guess what the password is? Every next number is made by moving the last digit of the previous 4 to the front. So, the password must be 4728. Mrs. Davies is an elderly lady telling a story of her life.
After I lived 1/4 of my life, I got my first car. I married 1/12 of my life later. 1/6 of my life later, I started a business. 1/4 of my life later, I got my first granddaughter. She just turned 18.
How old is Mrs. Davies? Let's say Mrs. Davies is X years old. 1/4 of her life, till she gets her first car, X is 4. Then we add 12 till her marriage. X till opening her business, 4 till the birth of her granddaughter, and finally 18 years from then till now. It should all be equal to X. If you solve this equation, you'll figure out that X is equal to 72. So, Mrs. Davies must be 72 years old. Esme was walking in the forest, and you know what? She didn't get lost this time. She knew how to get home, but the other road led to the witch's house, and the girl recently came up with a cool riddle for the witch. So, Esme decided to pay her a visit. She offered a deal. If the witch couldn't solve her riddle, Esme would get her cat. The witch agreed, and Esme gave her a square piece of paper, 4 inches by 4 inches, with a total area of 16 square inches. Turn it into a square with a total area of 8 square inches without a ruler. How can the witch do it? The witch should fold the 4 corners of the square towards the middle. This way, she'll get a square that is exactly twice as small as the original one. Apparently, the witch gets to keep her cat this time. There's a box filled with balls of different colors, 5 red ones, 8 blue ones, and 11 purple ones. Allison has a tricky task. Blindfolded, she has to keep picking up balls until she's sure that she has balls of at least 2 different colors. What's the minimum number of balls she should pull out of the box? In the worst-case scenario, Allison will be picking up balls of the same color until there are no more of them left in the box. The majority of balls are purple, so if she picks up a purple ball every single time, it'll be 11 balls. And only after that will she get a ball of a different color. So, she should pick up 12 balls. At first, you'll be a Sherlock trainee. Look carefully at the pictures and pay attention to the smallest details to solve the riddles. Which one of these students has 3 mothers? It must be this guy right here, the one with the 3 sandwiches. The guy with 3 glasses got them from the cafeteria. He must be very thirsty, but it's not a sign of 3 mothers. But this one definitely brought sandwiches from home, so I bet it's him. Let me know if you disagree. Let's move on. One of the girls has a pet at home. Can you guess which one? It's the girl in the middle. Look, her hands and arms are scratched. She must be living with a cat. Okay, look at these three people. Who is a vampire? It's this guy. See, he doesn't cast a shadow. Something's wrong. Chastity was at a party and met three guys. All of them claimed to be pilots, but one of them lied. Can you guess who's not a pilot? Pilots must have perfect eyesight. This guy is wearing glasses, so he's not a real pilot. Look at these three students. One of them is left-handed. Can you figure out who exactly? It must be this girl. The outer side of her left hand has some ink stains. It happens when she writes. Since we write from left to right, her arm covers everything she's just written. Three best friends met for a coffee in the evening. Can you tell which one of them has a pet? Look at this girl's bag. There's dog food in there, so she probably has a dog at home waiting for her. This one is super easy. Three sisters came to visit their parents. One of them got engaged while she was away. Can you tell which one? It's this girl who's wearing a ring. Three men came to a job interview. The company didn't want to hire fathers because they needed full commitment for the first year. All men said they were single and had no families, but one of them lied and actually had a daughter. Which one? It's this guy here. Why would he wear a pink scrunchie on his wrist if he wasn't making his daughter's hair right before the interview? Okay, now let's go and look at people's houses. Here are the bathrooms of Daryl and Tiberius. Which one of them has a girlfriend? It must be Tiberius. Look, there are two toothbrushes in his bathroom. Nevaeh and Nicolene are students. Both of them live in a one-room apartment with their friends to split the rent. Their mothers once came to visit. Take a look at Nevaeh and Nicolene's bedrooms. Can you tell which one of them is dating her roommate? It must be Nevaeh. In Nicolene's bedroom, there are two single beds, and in Nevaeh's bedroom, there's just one big bed. Look at these three friends. One of them isn't really a human, but which one? Look, this guy right here has only 4 fingers. Perfect, we trained you well. Now let's solve some cases. The city bank was robbed, and Detective Callum was on the case. After a long investigation, the police managed to track the robber and found the money hidden in the nearest desert in a cactus bush. They couldn't see the robber's face, but there were 3 suspects. Take a look at the people. Who is guilty? It's this man. Look, he has many scars on his arms and hands. He must have gotten them when he was digging the money in the cactus bush. A group of friends asked Billiam if he wanted to join them on a hike that weekend. He said that he couldn't because he had broken his arm. The next day in school, Billiam, indeed, appeared with a broken arm. So he stayed at home and his friends went hiking. On Monday, the friends met in school again. Billiam said that he had just stayed home watching TV. His friends told him about the hike and asked why he had lied about the broken arm. Why did they decide that his arm wasn't really broken? Last week, Billiam's right arm was broken. On Monday, it was the left one. He must be faking it. Mr. Tucker called the police and reported that he had been robbed. Detective Callum arrived at his place and found Mr. Tucker tied up to a chair. Mr. Tucker said that he had been sleeping when someone wearing a mask had broken into the room. They took him right out of the bed. tied him up to the chair, and then took all the savings he was keeping in the wardrobe. When they left, he managed to call the police because his cell phone was in his pocket. Still, Detective Callum didn't believe him. Why? Mr. Tucker said that he had been taken right out of bed, but the bed was perfectly made. I doubt that a robber would care enough to make Mr. Tucker's bed on their way out. Detective Callum was spending the winter holidays at a ski resort with his friends. In the morning, they were going to go skiing on the fresh snow that had fallen at night when a local police officer called him and asked him to come to a hotel nearby to solve a case. So, Detective Callum had to go. Someone robbed the cashier's desk and there were 3 suspects. Questley said that she was in her room all night sleeping. Egbert said that he was out partying in a different hotel and had just come back around an hour ago. Fenton said that he had been binge-watching a show all night but hadn't stolen anything. Who is guilty? It was Egbert. If he had just returned, he would have left his footprints on the fresh snow, but there were no footprints leading to the hotel as Detective Callum was walking there. And the name Egbert will make anyone suspicious. There was a car accident in the suburbs, and police arrived to investigate the case. The driver went into a cliff right where the road was taking a dangerous turn. The car turned around, and he was pushed out of it and got stuck nearby. He had his cell phone on him, so he was able to make a call. A police officer helped the driver out and asked him to show what was in the trunk. The driver gladly opened it with his keys. In the trunk, there was his suitcase, some instruments, and a spare tire. The police officer said that the accident had been staged. Why? The driver took the keys out of his pocket. If it had been a real accident, the keys would have remained in the car. Mr. Grayson called the police and said that she had been robbed. Detective Callum arrived for the investigation. Here's what she said.
It was almost midnight. I was in my room upstairs painting. Suddenly, the power went out. There was no light or electricity, and I could only see the streetlights outside. Then, the stationary phone rang. I was scared, so I didn't pick it up. I stayed upstairs, and in about 10 minutes, the light came back. I just went to sleep, and now, in the morning, I found out that someone stole my grandma's diamond ring.
Detective Callum didn't believe her. Why? If the lights and the electricity were out, how would a stationary telephone ring? This lady is making things up. Gavin drove to get some groceries and parked his car in front of the store. Of course, he forgot where he had parked and couldn't find his car. Luckily, he had taken a picture of his parked car and he opened it to look up the number of the parking lot. The problem is that his parking lot number is covered and the number of the lots nearby doesn't make any sense. Can you figure out what's Gavin's parking lot number and where he should search for his car? The numbers are just turned upside down in the photo. The numbers are 86 through 91, and his car is parked in 87. Now I have a short logo quiz for you. I'll show you a logo and you have to tell the company. Here's the first one. Do you recognize it? It's Honda, a Japanese car brand. This one is super easy. What is it? This is Pepsi, of course. What about this cute crocodile? Does it ring a bell? This is Lacoste, a French clothing brand. Another easy one. I bet you have it on your phone. Yes, of course. That's Spotify. What about this one? Yes, it's Nike. This one is a very fancy brand. What's your guess? That's Louis Vuitton. Okay, another one for you. It's harder, but you've got this. What's your call? This is Reebok, an American footwear company. Do you recognize this bull? Is a Lamborghini logo. This is a painfully familiar yellow rectangle. Where is it from? That's the National Geographic logo. Portia and Vinette live in a country where postal services are super unreliable. Everything sent by post is stolen from the package. How can Portia send his wife, Vinette, a diamond ring if both of them can buy locks, but don't have keys from each other's locks? Portia can lock the box with the ring and send it to Vinette. When she receives the box, she should lock the box with her lock and send it back to him. When he receives it, he can open his lock and remove it, and send the box back to Vinette with her lock only, so that she can open it once she gets it again. There is a box filled with balls of different colors. 5 red ones, 8 blue ones, and 11 purple ones. Ninja has to pick out balls blindfolded until he's sure that he has at least 2 balls of the same color. What's the minimum number of balls Ninja should take out to be sure of that? Worst case scenario, he'll be picking out the balls of a different color every time. There are 3 colors, so if he picks out 3, they might all be different. But if he picks out 4, then the additional one for sure will match one of the existing colors. So, Ninja should pick 4. Like every morning, Daphne went to her favorite local cafe to get her coffee and breakfast sandwich. She left the cafe after she'd paid. A few minutes later, she returned, looking anxious, because she had forgotten her wallet. Strangely, it was nowhere to be found. She called the police to report the incident. Nobody had left the store, so the thief was still there when the officer arrived. He started questioning everyone. Jenny, the cashier, said that Daphne was a regular customer and she had known her for a long time. So, she would never steal her wallet, and she didn't see it after Daphne had paid. Andre was a tourist visiting the city for the first time. He said he'd come to the cafe because he'd wanted to try their famous muffins. She claimed he hadn't seen the wallet. He was busy trying to pick what type of muffin he should get at the time. And Harry worked as a store clerk. He said that he'd come there to grab a coffee, and he didn't see the wallet because he was pouring milk into his coffee. So who do you think stole the wallet? It was Harry, the store clerk, or should I say Harold. Do you see his name tag? He lied about his name when he ordered his drink. Also, even though he said he was pouring milk in his coffee, as you can see, it doesn't have any milk in it. Jessica was an aspiring actor, and she had a big musical theater audition that day. She left her house early in the morning to make it on time, but she had forgotten to take her sheet music with her, so she had to drive back. When she walked in, though, she saw her roommate lying on the floor unconscious. A nurse was standing beside her. She explained to Jessica that her roommate had been poisoned, but luckily, she'd had enough time to call an ambulance before she passed out. Jessica immediately realized something was wrong. She thanked the nurse for helping her friend and asked her if she could get her a glass of water or anything else. The nurse agreed, and Jessica hurried to the kitchen. There, she called the police saying, "There's a fake nurse in my house. She poisoned my roommate and tried to rob her." How did Jessica understand that? When she arrived at the house, there was no ambulance car in the driveway or in the street, and it's not like paramedics started using Uber. And you might have also noticed that the paramedic bag the nurse was holding was slightly open, and Jessica's roommate's jewelry was dangling out of it. Anna and Catherine are both influencers, but take a look at the latest photos they posted. Which of these ladies do you think is richer? Catherine is richer, of course. Just look at the number of likes on her photo. She has 27,907 likes. Anna, on the other hand, has 9,837, which means that Catherine has way more followers and must be earning millions. Annie managed to buy presents for everyone except her dad. She knew what everyone wanted, but her dad was kind of secretive and not the talking type. He was also not great with technology and never bought anything online, so there was no way she could sneak into her dad's computer and check the saved items in his shopping cart. But he always liked to make lists in his little notebook, and Annie was sure she might be able to find a wish list there. So she sneaked into her father's office one day to look for the notebook. It was nowhere to be found, but his study table had a locked drawer. She looked for the key around the room but couldn't find it anywhere. That's when 2 different sticky notes attached to 2 different books inside the bookcase caught her eye. The first note was attached to a psychology book and had P5487TH written on it. The second note was attached to a detective novel and said P21320TH. Annie immediately knew what the notes meant. Can you guess what she had to do? She had to open to page 548 in the first book and find the 7th word on this page. Then, she had to open page 213 in the second book and find the 20th word on that page. The words she found were under and desk. The girl immediately looked under the desk and found the drawer key taped to it. James was walking back to his apartment from work late at night. Suddenly, he was hit on the head and taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a small room. He tried to escape, but the door was locked with a padlock. James tried to look for the key, but there was nothing in there but a window with strange-looking metal bars. Suddenly, he noticed something. It helped him to find the key. Do you see it too? One of the metal bars is different from the others. That one is the key. Giselle was camping in the forest during a night when the moon was full. After midnight, when she was making s'mores by a fire, she heard a loud howl. There was a werewolf in the forest, and it managed to find Giselle's tent because it smelled of food there. Thankfully, Giselle was not in her tent anymore when the werewolf arrived because she had already run away. Hiding behind a tree, she watched the creature eat her s'mores and tear up the tent. When the werewolf left before sunrise, the girl returned to her tent, but everything was ruined. There was no more food or water left. Her cell phone had run out of battery, so she couldn't call anyone. She started wandering through the forest, and soon she came upon a witch's house. When she walked in, she saw the witch and another lady. Giselle asked the witch if she could send her home. The witch agreed to help her on one condition. She would only send Giselle home if she guessed her sister's name. If not, she would turn her into a frog. Giselle knew the answer, but how? Did you notice that the witch's sister is wearing the same necklace around her neck as the werewolf? Well, Giselle did, and there's a name written on the necklace: Abigail. Zoe went to a security guard and reported that her gym bag was missing. She said she'd gone to the ladies' restroom after her dance cardio class. She was fixing her hair when someone came up from behind and pushed her. So she didn't see the person who had taken her bag. The security guard refused to check the footage from the security camera that was outside the restroom. Neither did he file a report. Why? Zoe said she was fixing her hair, so she must have been looking in the mirror. If she was telling the truth about someone sneaking up from behind, she would have definitely seen their reflection. So, Zoe probably lied so that she could sue them. Luckily, the security guard was super smart. Several women went missing in a small town. James Darcy and his police team had been searching for months, but they couldn't find the place where the women were kept. One day, when Sandra was jogging, she decided to use another route to get home. As she was passing an old cabin, she heard screams coming from its basement. She immediately called James Darcy to report it. James and his team arrived at the place and busted in. They found there 3 women. They all said that they had been locked in the basement for months, but James knew one of them was lying. The first woman said that her name was Tammy and that she had spent almost 8 months in the basement. The second woman claimed that her name was Hannah and that she had been there for almost 5 months. The third woman told him that her name was Allison and that she had stayed there for about 3 months. Can you tell who the liar is? Allison is telling the truth. Look at her. Her clothes are dirty. Her hair is greasy. Her roots have started to grow out. She definitely hasn't seen daylight for a long time. The same goes for Hannah. But look at Tammy. She looks clean. Her clothes look new. Her hair and makeup look fresh, so it must be her who is lying. David spent his summer break at a science camp that was at a big space facility. When the summer break ended and school started, he told his friends from the science club all about his camp adventures. He said that at the facility, he had found a secret room. And in there was a time machine. He stepped into it and pressed some buttons to test if it really worked. And it did. He traveled through time and was able to talk to Nikola Tesla, Chuck Berry, and King Aragorn. But one of his friends immediately called him out for lying. How did he know that David made up this whole thing? Well, even if David actually managed to travel through time, he might have been able to talk to Nikola Tesla and Chuck Berry, but definitely not King Aragorn, because he is a fictional character. Vicky has as many brothers as sisters, but each of her brothers has only half as many brothers as sisters. How many brothers and sisters are there in Vicky's family? The correct answer is 4 sisters and 3 brothers. The key to solving this is to keep it simple. Just count the sisters and brothers in total and in terms of their own number of siblings. Vicky is a music teacher. One day, she came over to her student's house to give him a lesson. The door was unlocked, so Vicky got in. Her student, Mr. Green, was lying on the couch with the flu. He was very weak, and Vicky decided to call the 3 best doctors in this town. Since Mr. Green was really rich and influential, many people wanted to get rid of him. That's why his bodyguards had to search the doctors before they began any treatment. It turned out that one of the doctors was a criminal. Can you tell which one? This guy. Why does he need an axe? Mr. Green got well and returned to his business duties. He runs a small company producing expensive diamond rings. On Friday, when the working week was finally over, he got a call from his bank. Mr. Green found out that someone had stolen all the money he had. He suspected that it might have been one of his employees, so he asked each of them what they'd been doing that day. Helen, the jeweler, said she always made 2 rings a day and showed all the rings she had made that week. Jesse, the sales manager, said that he had been busy meeting with the clients. And Amber, the cleaner, said that she'd been cleaning the office every day as usual, and she didn't notice anything suspicious. Who lied? Helen. There are 5 working days in a regular week. She said she made 2 rings a day, but she only showed 8 rings. It means she missed 1 day of work. Vicky was walking down a shopping mall. Suddenly, she heard screams. Looking outside the window and saw 2 women in big trouble. Can you tell who has more chances to survive? Look at this lady's hand. It's made of metal. She's a robot, so she'll more likely survive this adventure. One morning, Vicky was walking in the park and noticed this missing cat poster. Can you help her find the cat in this area? It's hiding in this old lady's bag. Vicky explained to the old lady that the cat had been missing, but the old lady refused to give the cat away so easily. First of all, Vicky had to solve her riddle. I can whistle, I can howl, I can scream, and I can whisper, but I don't speak. What am I? Can you help Vicky? The correct answer is wind. After getting the cat, Vicky headed to its owner's home. She walked through this beautiful park. Can you spot what's wrong here? This bench doesn't have legs. It's literally flying in the air. Vicky brought the cat to its owner, Diana. She was very glad to get her pet back and invited Vicky for dinner. Vicky was very hungry and agreed. Diana served these 4 dishes with various foods, but only one of them is safe to eat. Can you tell which one? The coconut cake is sprinkled with some human nails. If you look closely at this tomato soup, you'll notice some metal nails. Something's moving inside this burger, so this pasta is the only edible dish here. After dinner, Diana made a confession. She was a real witch, but Vicky didn't believe in magic at all. That's why Diana offered her this deal.
If you solve my riddle, I'm gonna use some magic to fulfill your biggest wish. I'm beautiful, up in the sky, I'm magical, yet I cannot fly. To some people, I bring luck. To some people, wealth. What am I?
Can you help Vicky out? The correct answer is rainbow. Vicky has always wanted to become a famous singer. She received an invitation to a singing contest. Vicky sang beautifully and won first place. After the performance, she drank a glass of water backstage. After that, Vicky felt very sick. The contest manager called the ambulance. Doctors said that someone had poisoned Vicky. The police questioned 3 suspects and searched their bags. Lily said, I was crying in the dressing room. This contest meant so much to me. Jessica said, Who do you think I am? Singers should stand for each other. And Rose said, I was outside the music hall with Lily. She was crying because she had lost this competition. Who poisoned Vicky? Lily said she was in the dressing room, while Rose said that they had been outdoors. Therefore, 1 or 2 of them are liars. But only Rose carries toothpaste but no toothbrush in her bag. That's pretty suspicious. When Vicky got better, she checked her mailbox and saw 3 messages from different music producers. Tom offered her a tour in Europe. Ryan offered Vicky to work on her first album at his record company in New York. And Joanna sent this invitation to participate in a TV show. But only one of these offers is real. Can you help Vicky make the right choice? Joanna's message is spam. She doesn't mention Vicky's name anywhere, and the text includes a suspicious link. Ryan sent Vicky a picture of his record company. But there are palm trees and a tropical forest outside the window. It's clearly not in New York. So, Vicky should pick Tom. Vicky was walking home from a rehearsal and stepped on a magical portal. She fainted and woke up in an enchanted forest. Suddenly, a wicked witch popped out of nowhere and gave Vicky a choice.
If you solve my riddle, I'll let you go. And if not, you'll get lost in this forest forever.
Here's the riddle. I can be flipped and broken, but I never move. I can be closed and opened, and sometimes removed. You can seal me with your hands. What am I? Unfortunately, Vicky failed to crack this riddle. And what about you? The correct answer is a deal. The wicked witch left Vicky alone in the forest. Vicky searched the area and found 3 paths leading to the nearest village. The first path goes through hungry wolves. Giant mutant plants are waiting in the second path. They eat all mammals, including human beings. And the third path is covered with a bunch of bugs and worms. Which way should Vicky go? Although insects are gross, they are the least harmful to humans, so Vicky should choose this path. Vicky got very hungry and decided to find some food in the village. When she came closer, she realized the gates were locked. Can you help her guess the right code? Take a look at the screen. It requires a 4-digit code. Someone decorated the gates with this symbol. It's a hint. If we divide this symbol into 4 parts, we will see that it's made up of 4 2s. So, Vicky should enter 2222 and come in. When Vicky entered the village, an angry pixie stopped her and said,
Not so fast, lady. You gotta solve one riddle first. What should you do when you see a green man?
Vicky cracked this puzzle right away. What about you? You should cross the road. Vicky solved it so easily because she was standing next to a traffic light. It turned out it wasn't an ordinary village. Various magical creatures lived here together. Vicky entered the local club and asked for some food. But the owner, Werewolf Fred, said, "If you want to eat, you gotta work." Now Vicky's job is to check the guests' ID cards. She shouldn't let suspicious persons or those under 21 get inside. Take a look at these 3 ID cards and figure out who shouldn't enter the club. The first one, Vampire, is already 21, and nothing looks suspicious in his ID, so Vicky should let him in. And this werewolf lady seems alright too. This elf's ID card says he was born on September 31st, but such a date doesn't exist. Therefore, Vicky shouldn't let the elf in. After work, Vicky went to the local supermarket to buy some food. She saw 2 attractive young ladies eating street food there. Can you tell which one of them isn't human? Take a closer look at this ice cream. Raw meat? This lady is definitely a werewolf. Vicky liked this village and decided to stay there. She met the love of her life, and 2 years later, they got engaged. Today is her wedding day. Can you guess who her husband is? It's the third guy. He's wearing a tie, which means he attended the wedding, and he's wearing a ring too.
Holly went to the supermarket to buy a watermelon. She found these 4 watermelons, but only one of them is edible. Can you guess which one? The first watermelon is a hologram. See those flashing pixels? The tail of the second watermelon is a green snake, probably not the safest choice. And the fourth watermelon has little cracks. So, Holly should choose the third watermelon. One dark, cold night, Harry and Pam were chilling together in their country house. Harry was watching a movie while his wife Pam enjoyed her favorite mystery book. Suddenly, all electricity went out. Harry decided to go to bed, but Pam decided to finish the book. There was no artificial light around, but this fact didn't stop Pam. How is that possible? Pam was listening to an audiobook on her phone. It's big on Saturday and Sunday. It's small on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's absent on Monday and Friday. What are we talking about? It's the letter S. Bella and Ken took a flight to Europe to celebrate their honeymoon. It took them 2.5 hours to reach the destination. After spending 2 weeks together, they flew back home. However, it took 150 minutes this time, even though the plane flew at the same speed. Can you guess why? Turns out that 2.5 hours are exactly 150 minutes. Karen went camping in a jungle with her 3 best friends. They had a wonderful dinner and went to sleep. In the morning, Karen woke up first and found out that someone had eaten all the food from the bag. She questioned her friends. Josh said, "I was very tired and fell asleep as soon as my head touched the pillow. I don't know what happened." Leah said, "I left the tent in the middle of the night to go to the toilet. The food was in the bag near the tree where we left it." Wendy said, "I left the tent at night and spent some time stargazing. I ate just 1 chocolate, I swear." Who ate the food? It was the monkey who was hiding in the tree. See those footprints around the bag? They are definitely not human. Gerald is a college dean. Somebody stole his car this morning. Soon the police found it across the street. The thief hit a pole and escaped. The police interviewed 3 suspects. Holly said, "I was busy having classes all morning. Then I went for a walk with my friends." Brian said, "I was checking the test papers." Rob said, "I skipped classes and spent the day at my girlfriend's studio." Can you guess who stole the car? It was Holly. Take a closer look inside the car. She lost one of her earrings. The combined age of Jenny and Jasmine is 49 years old. Jenny is twice as old as Jasmine was when Jenny was as old as Jasmine is now. How old are the sisters? Jenny is 28 and Jasmine is 21. Lisa likes grapes but not potatoes. She likes squash but not lettuce. Also, she likes peas but not onions. Following the same rule, will she like pumpkins or apples? Pumpkins, because Lisa only prefers things that grow on vines. Which of the following words don't belong to this group and why? Quartz. All the other words are anagrams of each other. 2 people participated in a contest. They had to hold something. Finally, the jury announced the winner. It was a person with their hands and feet tied. How can this be possible? It's all simple. The contestants had to hold their breath. and the tied person managed to hold it the longest. Becky is thinking about a 7-letter word that we read very often. Letters 5, 6, and 7 grow every year. Letters 3 and 4 are the same. Letters 3, 2, and 5 cover over 70% of the world. What word is Becky thinking of? The correct answer is message. Our age grows every year, and the C covers over 70% of the planet. Amy is looking at Nick, and Nick is looking at Mia. Amy is married, and Mia is not. Is a married person looking at the unmarried person? Will you go with a yes or a no? Or is this information insufficient? The correct answer is yes. 2 combinations are possible here. If Nick is married, Mia, who is unmarried, is looking at him, who is married. If Nick is unmarried, we still have Amy, who is married. In this case, she's looking at Nick, who is single, which meets the requirements too. 5 friends were eating apples. Amy finished before Bob, but after Kat. Dan finished before Eve, but after Bob. Can you figure out the exact order in which they finished the apples? Kat, Amy, Bob, Dan, and Eve. Eric's job is to guard a supermarket parking lot. One day, he was walking around the area as usual and noticed that someone had parked the car in the middle of the driveway. He questioned 4 women. "Ladies, who is the owner of this car?" All 4 women replied, "It's not my car." Eric took a closer look at the vehicle and figured out its owner right away. Can you guess which of these women is the owner of the car? It's the First Lady. She's the only person who's not wearing a bag. Her bag is in the car. Peter came home in the evening and found his car wrecked. His 3 roommates were there. Peter decided to find out who was guilty, so he questioned them. Josh replied, "I didn't touch your car. I was walking the dog." Mike said, "That wasn't me. I was playing football with my friend." And Will said, "Nothing special happened today. I was just hanging out with our neighbors." Can you spot the liar? It's Will. He said he'd visited the neighbors, but nobody lives in this abandoned house. Plus, his cheek looks like he was in a crash. Sophie was sleeping. Suddenly, a robber broke into her apartment. He locked Sophie in the bathroom and asked her to stay quiet. Then, the robber began to collect cash and jewelry around the apartment. Suddenly, the phone started ringing. The robber told Sophie to pick up and talk without giving away the situation. Sophie picked up the phone. It was her husband. She said, "Oh, hi, darling. Is it an emergency, darling? Give me a call when you land. I'll cook your favorite meal that will help you relax after your business trip." Then she hung up. 10 minutes later, the police arrived at Sophie's house and caught the robber. Can you guess how the police learned about the robbery? Sophie played with the mute buttons. She pressed mute on specific parts of her conversation to make her husband only hear "emergency," "call," and "help." And he called the police right away. Rick woke up in a weird basement and saw 3 doors. He has only one chance to escape. If he enters one of the doors, he won't be able to use them again. The first door leads to a room with high-voltage wires hanging above the wet floor. Behind the second door, there's a room filled with water and piranhas swimming in it. The third door leads to a space where flesh-melting acid rain is falling from the ceiling. Which door is more or less safe to enter? Rick should choose the first door. He'll be okay if he won't let his body come in contact with the wires and the wet floor at the same time. Jerry called his wife Robin and told her that he would be home by 7 o'clock. They didn't plan anything special for that evening, but when he arrived at 2 minutes past 7, Robin was furious. Why was she so angry? Any ideas? She thought her husband would come home after work by 7 p.m., but he appeared by 7:02 a.m. the next morning. When the day after tomorrow is yesterday, today will be as far from Wednesday as today was from Wednesday when the day before yesterday was tomorrow. What is the day after this day? Can you guess? It's Thursday. Harry and Barry are two magicians performing this evening in two nightclubs on the same street. But one of them is fake. Can you guess who? It's Barry. Take a closer look under the magician's tuxedo. On the right, you can see a restaurant employee badge with his name on it. He must be a waiter who came instead of the real magician. A monkey, a squirrel, and a bird are racing to the top of a coconut tree. Who will get the banana first, the monkey, the squirrel, or the bird? None of them, because bananas don't grow on coconut trees. Bonnie is cooking dinner. She has 3 stoves, a gas stove, a wood stove, and a coal stove, but only one match. What should she light first of all? The match! You are a bus driver. 9 people get on the bus, and 3 people get on. Then 2 more people get on, and another 1 gets off. Finally, 4 more people get on, and 2 get off again. How old is the bus driver? Whatever your age is, remember the question? You're the driver. You suddenly wake up trapped in a dark room. Your only source of light is a candle. There are 2 doors in front of you. Behind one of them, there's a tunnel that will lead you outside to freedom. Behind the other, just a cold brick wall. You have a key that will open only one of the doors, and you can try it just once. So, how do you know which door to try? Hold the candle up to each keyhole. The flame will move near the door that leads outside. You escape to freedom, but you need to send some important documents to your friend Beth. You can't mail them in a regular package because the precious papers will get stolen. So you put them in a box and lock it. But Beth doesn't have the key to this lock. How can you send the papers if you can't send the key to the lock separately? First, send the locked box to Beth. She'll attach her own lock and send the box back to you. Then remove your own lock and send the package again. Beth can then remove her lock and finally open the package. Bad news. You get a call one morning from Beth. She says the crucial documents were stolen from her office. They'd been on the desk the evening before, but are nowhere to be found this morning. You immediately go there to question the employees. In no time, you gather 3 suspects. Sean said he had been at the movies last night. Michael had taken his girlfriend to an amusement park. And Christina was at a prestigious art gallery. Who's lying? Sean. His movie ticket isn't torn. Having been caught red-handed, Sean makes a break for it. He hops in his car and drives away. Law enforcement are on the lookout. Sean sees a police car right ahead of him and starts driving toward it. Why would he do that? He was on a bridge. He needed to go toward the patrol car to get to the other side and make his escape. No such luck for poor Sean. He gets caught and locked up. But he starts hearing rumors of an inmate planning to break out. The guards have two suspects. First, a quiet bookworm who spends most of his days with his nose buried in sci-fi novels. The second, a big burly tattooed guy who's always working out. Who should Sean become friends with if he wants to get out of here? The bookworm. Look closer, and you'll see his bookmark is actually a file. On Friday afternoon, the owner of that same prestigious art gallery discovered that 4 of the most famous artists' self-portraits had been stolen during an exhibition. The police show up to do an investigation, and now they have 3 suspects. Sarah, the artist, said she disappeared into one of the studios to paint. John, the security guard, explained he was just waiting outside and had no idea the portraits were gone. Daniel, the caterer, stated he was at a nearby store picking up extra napkins when the robbery took place. So, who's the thief? It's the security guard. He couldn't have known the stolen paintings were portraits if he was standing outside. As fate would have it, there was another incident that night. Michael, who never really liked what passed for art in modern times, rushed into the gallery and caused millions of dollars worth of damage to several paintings. Yet the gallery's owner thanked him for his actions. How come? Michael is a firefighter. The water from his hose damaged several masterpieces, but he still managed to extinguish the fire and save many more works. They awarded Michael a big check in gratitude. He heads home just in time to get his 5 kids all packed up for a camping trip that weekend. Mike and his wife are really looking forward to having the weekend for themselves to relax. But when they woke up on Saturday, they discovered the check was missing from their safe. Once the officers showed up, they interviewed the 3 people who were in the house that morning. The chef said he was in the kitchen getting school lunches packed. The cleaner said he finished cleaning quickly that day and left early. The butler had just gotten back after taking the kids to camp 3 hours away. Who's lying? It's the chef. It's Saturday, so there's no school, and the kids have gone camping. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, a scientist is working on something bizarre. He invites Kevin and Claire as blind test subjects for his new serum invention. He gives them each a glass of ice-cold lemonade. Kevin drinks his fast, but Claire apprehensively waits to see the side effects on him first. After 2 hours, nothing happens, so she drinks her glass. 2 minutes later, her skin turns green. If both the drinks had the serum, why was only Claire affected? The serum was in the ice. Since Kevin drank his fast, none of it got in the lemonade. Claire runs out of the lab in horror. She gets in her car and speeds off. As she's driving down a long, empty road, one of her tires pops off. Good thing she has a spare in the trunk. But here's the problem. She now has no lug nuts to put the spare on with. So what should Claire do? Unscrew one lug nut from each of the other 3 wheels and use them to attach the spare tire. It'll be enough to get to the nearest garage safely. As Claire is putting on her spare tire, the scientist catches up to her. He hands her 4 pills and tells her it's a complex cure to the green face serum. 2 of the pills are an antidote, and the other 2 are a catalyst that activates it. Claire must take 1 of each type together. If she takes 2 of the same, her face will stay green forever. Just as the scientist is handing her the pills, he trips and they get all mixed up. They look identical. What should Claire do? Grind the tablets up, mix all the powder together, and divide it in 2 parts. Each half will have the same amount of catalyst and antidote. It worked, and just in time. Whew! The next day, Claire has a big calculus exam. But funny enough, all the students in the class refuse to take it. Professor Miller can expel only 1 student for skipping the test. All of them know each other's names. If a student knows they'll be expelled, they agree to take the test. How can the professor make all the students take it? She should tell them she'll expel the student whose name comes first alphabetically. Then this person won't skip the test. The next person on the list won't skip either, and so on until the end of the list. Professor Miller grabs her cup of coffee, takes a sip, goes to set it down, and what's this? It's stuck to her hand. Somebody put glue on the cup, and she's got 3 suspects. Look carefully to find out which student is playing tricks on the professor. Sure, the first student has an awfully guilt-ridden look on his face. And the second student's smile looks just like pride for a job well done. But look closer at the third student's pocket. Yep, it's the tip of a glue bottle. Professor Miller is so annoyed by her class's shenanigans, she decides to change her career. Wow. She opens a shoe factory. She's so successful that she builds a second one in another city. But despite her success, the problems don't end. Her employees keep secretly taking shoes from the plant. What can she do to resolve the issue? Have one of her factories start making only left shoes and the other only right ones. One of those shoe swipers is driving a semi-truck full of shoes to sell for a profit. He comes to a tunnel, and there's a major problem. His truck is just an inch too tall. But he can still drive through the tunnel. How? Let some of the air out of the tires. It'll lower the truck just enough. When the shoe swiper gets through the tunnel, he comes to a fork in the road. One goes to the town, the other to never-ending wilderness. There are guides standing at each. The catch? One always tells the truth, the other always lies. The driver doesn't know who's who, and he's only allowed one question. What should he ask to find out which road goes to town? Ask either one of the guides which road the other would say is the right way. Then he must choose the opposite. The truth teller knows the other will lie, so they'll point the driver toward the road to nowhere. If he asks the liar, they'll know the other guard would honestly point him toward the town, so they'll again recommend the road to nowhere. The shoe thief takes the road to town, but he has another puzzle to answer before he's allowed to enter. The guard at the gate asks him one simple question. What's the logic in the order of the following words? Fun, blue, bee, more, and dive. Every word rhymes with its number on the list. Fun 1, blue 2, bee 3, and so on. The shoe swiper finally settles down in this new town. Too bad for him, he can only use a payphone to make calls. One day, the phone breaks. He informs the phone company, but they do nothing. He tries again the next day, same result. The third time, he finally gets them to come out and fix the phone. So, what did he say? He claimed that people were making calls without paying. So Bill had stomach cramps and went to the hospital where he was prescribed some pills. The next morning, he was found unconscious. Police found someone had switched the pills and questioned 3 suspects. Dr. Johnson, his cardiologist, saw him at 3 in the afternoon and wrote the prescription. John, the hospital cleaner, came to clean the room at 7 a.m., found him and called the police. Susan, his nurse, brought the pills to him at 8 that morning. Who's lying? Susan, the cleaner, called the police 1 hour before she claimed to have brought in the pills. Mia got a new cat and brought it into her apartment where she lived with 3 other people. But all her roommates disliked her new pet. 3 months later, she went on a 2-day business trip, but when she came back, the cat was gone. She questioned all her roommates. Steve didn't notice the cat was missing. David said he was allergic to cats and couldn't survive a day with one around him. Sean was the one taking care of the cat, and he was shocked he couldn't find it that morning. Who's lying? David. If he was allergic to cats, he wouldn't have lasted with Mia's cat in the same house for several months before. You went to visit an abandoned castle when you got trapped in the basement. There's a small bamboo stick on the table, almost as long as your forearm. In front of you, there are 3 doors, and you must spend 1 hour behind one of them to get out of the castle. Which is the safest option? Behind the first door, there's 100 rabid wild rats. Behind the second, there's a box filled with water, and you must keep your head submerged in it. In the third door, there's an infinitely deep pool filled with box jellyfish. The second door. You can use the bamboo stick to breathe. Brian was traveling by train to a nearby city. He placed his watch on the table and was looking for his train ticket when the train went into a dark tunnel. When it came out, Brian's watch was gone. There were only 3 people in the car. Mary was sleeping the entire time. Christopher was looking for his wallet to grab a cup of coffee. Mike was playing a game on his phone. Who took the watch? It was Mary. When the journey started, she had her sleeves rolled up, and if she were sleeping, she wouldn't put them down. Sarah was walking out of the mall when someone snatched the purse out of her hand and drove off in a red car. The security closed the parking lot and found 3 people with red cars. Alyssa said she was inside shopping when she got called by security. David said he had only just arrived. Bob said he was about to pay his parking fee and drive off. Who isn't telling the truth? David. He's got a parking ticket on his window. From the sign on the wall, he's been there for more than 2 hours without paying and got a ticket. And he lies about being very allergic to cats. Simon broke into the richest house in the neighborhood and took a very expensive diamond. Security guards caught him walking out and searched him for the diamond. They knew he'd taken it, so when they couldn't find anything, they x-rayed him. Still, nothing showed up. Where was Simon carrying the diamond? As soon as the guards caught him, he put it in one of their pockets. After the search was over and they were driving him home, He took it out of their pocket with nobody noticing. A crazy scientist took you into their basement and is planning to keep you there for a year. He's given you the option to choose one of 3 foods to eat for the year to stay alive. Which one do you choose to save your life? Pasta and bread, rice and beans, steak and broccoli. If you only ate pasta and bread, you'd get scurvy in just 8 months. And steak with broccoli is low in carbs, which will start breaking down your muscle mass to help you stay alive. Your best bet is rice and beans. It's high in all 9 essential amino acids your body needs, and you can germinate some of the raw beans, eating their sprouts to get your vitamin C. Aren't you a smart cookie? A year passes and you've managed to get out of the basement. But to make it out of the house, you must pick one of the 3 doors the scientists created. The first room is filled with venomous cone snails. The second has 5 very hungry polar bears. The third is a saltwater tank with hundreds of piranhas. Which is the safest? The third room. Piranhas are freshwater fish and can't survive in salt water. 3 prisoners are sitting at the table having dinner, but one of them is wealthy. Can you guess who it is? It's not the guy with the steak and the shrimps. The little tag on his shirt reveals he's a chef, and he likes to prepare a special treat for himself. The guy with the jewels shows that he's rich, but in prison, jewelry is basically worthless. It's the third guy. Rich people try to keep low profile in prison, not to be targeted by others. That's why he doesn't flash any valuable possessions or his status. A group of researchers is trying to test your knowledge. They take you into their lab on an island in Italy and present 3 dishes to you, but only one is safe to eat. Which do you choose? Cheese infested by maggots, boiled pufferfish liver, or fly agaric mushrooms? Pufferfish liver can be poisonous if it isn't prepared properly, and the fly agaric mushrooms are among the most dangerous in the world. Maggot cheese, on the other hand, is actually a delicacy in Sardinia, Italy, so it's perfectly safe to eat. Really? One day, you wake up in an arena without knowing how you got there. From the speakers, you hear that you must fight one of 3 hybrid animals. Which one do you pick to stay alive? A polar bear with the head of a rattlesnake, a hippo with a lion head, or a hybrid with the face and body of a great white shark and the limbs of a jaguar? The great white shark hybrid. Since its body has gills, it won't be able to breathe outside water. You're an astronaut and you've made it to Mars for an expedition. A team member greets you at the entrance to the base in their workout clothes. When you get in, you close the door and wait for the room to pressurize before taking off your spacesuit. When you walk in, you get a message that someone at the base is an imposter. Who could it be? A fellow astronaut who covers his face because he got a sunburn, an engineer with flaky patches on her skin, or the person who greeted you at the door earlier. The person you saw earlier. If they were human, they wouldn't survive outside the base in the planet's atmosphere. While walking in the forest, you come across a mysterious local that blocks your way. He tells you if you solve his riddle, you're free to go. But if you don't, you'll have to stay in this forest forever. The riddle goes like this. You're seas without water, coasts without land, towns without people, and mountains without land. What are you? Well, you're a map. You decided to go exploring a local cave. You walk inside, and a landslide suddenly blocks the way back. Ahead, there are 4 tunnels, each with a sign showing you which dangers lurk inside. Which one do you choose to stay safe? The tunnel filled with molten lava, the one filled with poisonous gas, the one swarmed by bats, or the tunnel with venomous spiders? You picked the last one. Spiders don't hunt humans for food and usually avoid them altogether. You just moved into a new town with only 2 barbers. You visit both their shops to decide which one you should pick. The first shop is a bit messy, and the barber needs both a haircut and his beard trimmed. The second shop is shiny, tidy, and the barber is well shaved with a perfect haircut. But you decide to go to the first shop. Why? Each barber cuts the other barber's hair, and you pick the one who gave the other a nice haircut. You've got a job as a helper to someone's mansion, but the mansion owner gives a tricky task. I need the least number of chairs for a table to seat 4 fathers and 2 grandfathers with 4 sons. You can't ask any questions, but what's the least number of chairs you must put out? Four. The fathers could also be grandfathers, and they're all sons. Mary was selling a rope for $3. The buyer gave her $10, but because she had no change, she went to the grocery store next door to get some. She then returned with $7, but then the clerk from the store came outside to tell her that she gave her a counterfeit bill. Mary called a detective, and she must tell him how much she had lost. What should her answer be? $7 and the rope. Oh, and it turns out the counterfeiter buyer was a guy named David. What a troublemaker.
Betty is a famous artist and blogger with more than 1 million subscribers. She has recently hired an agent to sell her works. The agent created an online shop with Betty's exclusive paintings. One day, Betty woke up and saw that most of her followers recently unsubscribed. Can you guess what happened? Take a look at the items in Betty's shop. Van Gogh painted the Starry Night, not Betty. The agent tried to sell fake art through her shop. The next day, Betty visited her favorite cafe. She made an order and went to the ladies' room to wash her hands. She found this beautiful ancient necklace. 3 people approached her to claim the jewelry. Helen said, "This piece belonged to my grandmother. Emeralds fit our green eyes perfectly. Give it back." Fiona said, "My necklace used to have a weak lock. It must have been broken when I was combing my hair." Julia said, "Hey, it's mine. I lost this necklace in the ladies' room." Who should Betty give the necklace to? Helen mentioned emeralds, but the stones are red, not green. Julia was so sure that she'd lost the necklace in the toilet, so why wouldn't she go pick it up herself? Fiona was the only one who knew about the weak chain lock, so she's the real owner. Betty returned to her table. She noticed that someone had taken a bite out of her bagel. Betty was shocked and questioned other customers. Derek said, "Lady, I'm a billionaire. I don't need to steal other people's food." Zach said, "I'm allergic to gluten. I don't eat any pastries." Sheila said, "I saw a weird hungry guy running around the cafe and asking for money. He must have bitten your bagel." Who's lying? Zach. If he doesn't eat any pastries, why did he order pancakes? Fiona wanted to thank Betty for the necklace, so she bought her lunch. The women sat down together and began to talk. Betty asked Fiona about her job. Instead of answering, Fiona showed her family tree. Can you help Betty figure this out? Fiona is a witch, her brother is a policeman, their dad is a doctor, and their mother is a football player. Betty got very excited. She begged Fiona to teach her magic crafts. But Fiona hesitated. She wanted to test her potential student and offered Betty to solve this equation first. Can you help her nail this task? Many people fail to solve this equation because they don't pay attention to details. In this puzzle, every emoji, including the witch, wand, and the broom, symbolize different values. Before calculating the equation, let's find out the value of single things. First, calculate the value of one witch. It's 15. Now let's figure out the value of one wand. As you can see, it equals 7. And now, let's do the same thing to the brooms. This task is tricky because there are 4 brooms in this equation. So, if 4 brooms are worth 12, then 1 broom will cost 3. Now let's take a look at the final line. The witch doesn't carry around any broom or wand. Therefore, the value of an empty-handed witch is 5. And now, we're ready to solve the equation. And the correct answer is 73. Great job! Betty gave the right answer, and Fiona took her home. There's a beautiful garden maze on Fiona's land. She teleported Betty to the center of the maze and gave her this map. Betty must find a black cat. Otherwise, she's gonna stay in this trap forever. Can you help Betty out? Here's the way. Betty wanted to run back to the castle as soon as possible. Suddenly, a creepy zombie started chasing her. It looked hungry. Betty was running away and noticed 3 paths. The first path was covered by poisonous acid, the second path by bugs and maggots, and the third path by thorn bushes. Which way should Betty choose? Betty should choose the second path. Bugs and maggots are gross, but they're harmless. Fiona asked Betty to serve dinner for a witch party in her castle. Can you count how many witches have arrived at this event? There are 13 witches in this picture. This one is not a witch, it's a garden scarecrow. Betty needed to go to the store to buy some ingredients for dinner. She began to write them down. Milk, lemon juice, eggs, butter, oranges, baking soda, cashews, and vinegar. What was Betty making? Have you guessed? Betty was making a shopping list. Betty served the witches the first meal. Can you guess what exactly? The correct answer is onion rings. Here's a second serving. Can you guess it? It's blueberry. What about this dish? What do you say? It's popcorn. Here's the next one. Did you get it right? It's a strawberry milkshake. Fiona asked Betty to bring dried flowers to cook a love potion. Fiona stores all ingredients in her warehouse, but as soon as Betty entered the warehouse, the door locked behind her back. Betty searched this area and found some old furniture and an antique mirror. Suddenly, she noticed 3 doors, but there was a dangerous monster behind each door. The first monster can turn any living being into stone. The second one is very angry and strong. And the third monster has venomous teeth. Can you help Betty choose the right door? Betty should open the first door and show the mirror to the monster so that it would turn into stone. Then she can escape through the first door. Betty took her phone and ran into the forest. It was pretty dark and scary. Betty stepped on a wasp nest. Wasps were everywhere. What should Betty do? Wave her arms to scare the wasps? Run away as fast as she can? Or walk away slowly? What do you think? The safest choice is to walk slowly. Waving hands and running is too dangerous. The wasps will get angry and sting her. Betty has returned to the party, but when she saw the crowd of witches by the fire, she got scared and ran away. Why? This lady by the fire is a ghost. See, she doesn't have any feet and levitates. Betty decided to hide in the castle. She wanted to call the police, but she couldn't find her phone. Betty questioned 3 witches. Georgina said,
How dare you? I use telepathy. Phones and gadgets are for losers.
Lillian said,
I was outdoors singing with other witches. I didn't see or hear anything weird.
and Nina said,
I don't need to steal honey. I can manifest any amount of money anytime.
Who's lying? Georgina, take a look at her ears. She's wearing earphones, but she said she didn't use any gadgets. Fiona got very angry when she found out that Betty had interrogated her dearest friends. Betty apologized. Fiona said, Okay, I'll let you stay, but you must answer 3 questions. Here's the first one. I've been here for 1,000,000 years, but I'm never more than a month old. What am I? Have you guessed it? The correct answer is the moon. Here's Fiona's second question. I build castles and I tear down mountains. I make some people blind, but I help others see. What am I? The correct answer is sand. And the third question is, I can be long or I can be short. I can be bought or I can be grown. I can be painted or I can be bare. I can be round or I can be square. What am I? And the answer is fingernails. The party was still on. Fiona went upstairs to change her dress. In 5 minutes, Betty heard a scream from Fiona's bedroom and found her unconscious on the floor. Betty asked one question to 4 suspects. What have you been doing for the last 5 minutes? Jenny was roasting marshmallows by the fire. Gemma said, I've spent the last 30 minutes in the pool. Sarah said, My frog Fluffy ran away to the garden. I've been looking everywhere, but unfortunately I couldn't find it. And Nancy was flying on her broom around the house and filming the party on her phone. Who's lying? Sarah. Her frog is sitting in her pocket. Suddenly, someone turned the lights off. Betty woke up in jail. She found this clue on the floor. It said, Explain this code and you'll be free. Can you help Betty? Here's the answer. Betty was running through Fiona's basement and noticed 2 more prisoners. She figured out that one of them was planning to escape. Can you guess who? The first prisoner. There's a hole behind the toilet that he started digging. Betty got out of Fiona's castle and ran away through the forest. Can you tell what's wrong with the forest? Look at the trees. They all cast shadows, but the big oak tree's shadow is in the wrong direction.
Wow, Bella landed in New York with very ambitious career goals. There were many options to get from the airport to the center of the city, but Bella decided to save money and go by bus. She had to purchase a ticket for $10, but a handsome guy popped out of nowhere and offered her a better deal. "Hey, my plans have changed and I don't need my bus ticket anymore. Want to buy it for $6? Bella agreed and gave him $6. It was a big mistake. Why? Take a look at the current date on the screen of the vending machine. And now check the date on the ticket. It expired a decade ago. Finally, Bella arrived in Manhattan and found her hostel. She had booked a bed in a dormitory room. Bella had to share it with 3 other women. She left her backpack on her bed and went to take a shower. When Bella returned, she found out that someone had stolen her laptop. She questioned her roommates. Sarah said, "I was drinking some coffee in the lobby. Ask the manager." Kelly said, "I was sleeping with my earplugs in and my sleep mask on, so I didn't see or hear anything." And Chelsea said that she had been taking pictures on the roof of the hostel. Who's lying? Chelsea. Do you see the sign? The hostel rules strictly prohibit guests from going up to the roof. In the evening, at around 8 p.m., Bella got very hungry. She went out to get some food. She found a cozy restaurant. As soon as Bella entered, she witnessed a heated argument between a waiter and a customer. The customer claimed to have ordered tomato soup, and the waiter claimed that he'd only ordered hot chocolate. Bella realized which of them was lying right away. What about you? The client is lying. This advertisement on the wall says the restaurant only serves soups from 1 to 4 p.m. This means that the waiter simply wouldn't have accepted such an order. Bella ordered dinner. While waiting, she looked around and noticed one weird detail. Can you spot it too? This guy is using tree leaves instead of money to pay for his meal. The waiter served Bella her meal. She was about to start eating when 2 ladies began arguing about their VIP reservation. Julia claimed that she had reserved the VIP room in advance to celebrate her wedding anniversary. And Letitia said, "No way! It's my birthday party tonight. I called the manager yesterday and he promised me the VIP room." The manager said, "Ladies, I'm so sorry, but the booking system crashed and deleted both of your reservations. The VIP room is unavailable today. Can I do anything else for you?" Who's lying here? The manager. Take a look at the screen. Julia's reservation is still there. He lied because Letitia had given him huge tips to get the VIP room without any reservation. See? Boy, this is a crazy restaurant. The food better be worth it. After dinner, Bella saw Letitia in the ladies' room. She was crying. Bella asked her, "What happened?" Letitia didn't say anything. She just gave Bella her phone and showed this chat with her boyfriend. Can you tell what made Letitia so upset? Her boyfriend didn't come to her birthday party. Even worse, he lied that his mom was ill to visit a pool party. Take a look at the reflection in his sunglasses. It seems that he's having fun. Letitia was so grateful for Bella's support that she gave up her VIP opera tickets. The performance was scheduled for the next day. Now, Bella needed to find an evening dress. She headed to a shopping mall with Kelly and Sarah, but as soon as they arrived, they noticed something very weird. Can you see it too? This mannequin has 3 arms. Can you spot what's wrong here? The outfit sizes don't match the sizes on the hangers. What about the dressing room? Any odd details? These hairy clawed paws can't belong to a human. Finally, Bella found a beautiful evening gown for the opera, but it cost $97. Bella couldn't afford it, so she borrowed $50 from Kelly and $50 from Sarah, which equaled $100. She bought the dress and got $3 of change. Bella gave $1 to Kelly and $1 to Sarah and kept the last dollar for herself. So now, Bella owes $49 to Kelly and $49 to Sarah, which equals $98. If we add the dollar that Bella took, we'll get $99. But then, $1 is missing. Where is it? First of all, we're led to believe that $1 is missing. According to the conditions of the riddle, Bella took $50 from Kelly and $50 from Sarah, so the sum of her debt was $100. After that, she bought a dress for $97 and got $3 of change. The total indeed equals $100. But the question itself offers us a mathematically impossible puzzle. In fact, there is no missing dollar. Bella's debt remains $98 because she had already given $2 to her friends. And it's incorrect to add Bella's $1 to this debt. Next, Bella decided to visit a hairdresser. The manager asked her to wait for 20 minutes. Bella took a seat in the lobby and accidentally fell asleep. When she woke up, she saw that someone had cut her long, beautiful hair. She got furious and questioned 3 suspects. Maya said that she'd been busy with another customer. She didn't see what was going on in the lobby. Rick said that he had been eating his lunch outdoors. And Sally said, "Who do you think I am? I don't steal hair. That's ridiculous." Who is lying? Both Maya and Sally have some cut hair on their clothes, but that doesn't prove their guilt. But Rick's lunchbox is full of food, which means that he was busy with something else during his lunch break. Very suspicious. Bella's evening dress was too long and classy. She couldn't go to the concert hall by subway. So the hostel manager, Fred, offered Bella to give her a ride if she cracked his tricky riddle. I have no neck and no head. 2 arms, but no hands. I'm with you at school. I'm with you at work. What am I? The correct answer is a shirt. During a break, Bella went outside to get some fresh air. She enjoyed the evening along with other guests. Suddenly, a street dealer offered Bella a diamond necklace for $20. She agreed right away and put the necklace on. Soon, 3 guests came over to Bella to claim the necklace. Pam said, "How dare you? This necklace has been in my family for ages. I lost it in the ladies' room." Diana said, "This piece looks very similar to my necklace. Someone stole it as I was moving through the crowd today. In any case, my jewelry collection is insured." And Sheila said, "I noticed that the necklace was gone after visiting the buffet on the 6th floor. Can you help Bella return the necklace to its real owner?" The necklace belongs to Diana. The concert hall doesn't have 6 floors. Pam and the street dealer have similar tattoos on their arms, so they must be scammers working together. After the performance, Letitia invited Bella to the after party, where Bella met Tyler. He claimed he was a famous violinist and showed Bella some pictures proving his luxurious lifestyle. But Bella realized that he was just a wannabe very soon. How did she understand it? Take a look at the trees in this picture. It's obvious that the wind is blowing to the right. Meanwhile, Tyler's hair seems to be swept to the left. The picture has been photoshopped. The next morning, Bella went to buy some groceries. She didn't have much cash, so she bought only 2 items, cheese and bread, and paid $1.10 in total. The cheese cost $1 more than the bread. So, how much did the bread cost? The most obvious answer would be that the bread cost 10 cents. But if the bread cost 10 cents and the price of the cheese was $1 higher than that of the bread, the cheese would cost $1.10. And the total, in this case, would be $1.20. The correct answer is that the bread costs 5 cents and the cheese costs $1.05. This indeed makes a total of $1.10. Does that make sense? Sense? After breakfast, Bella went to a job interview. The HR manager asked her to solve this riddle. She wanted to see how quick-witted Bella was. I am the only place in the world where today comes before yesterday. What am I? Bella cracked this riddle easily. What about you? The correct answer is the dictionary. Bella got a job as a train conductor. On her first day at work, she entered a rail car to check the passengers' tickets. There were only 3 people inside, and only 2 of them were human. Can you tell who's not human? The first guy is dressed up too warmly for the summer, but he could be going to a place where it's very cold. That lady over there is drinking some green liquid. It's a bit strange, but there are plenty of colorful drinks in the world. As for this guy in the middle, he doesn't cast a shadow, so he's not human.
Eddie and Lucy decided to go camping in the forest for the weekend. However, they didn't know that it was protected by an angry spirit who didn't like intruders. He appeared in front of them and said,
"You have set foot into my forest uninvited. You will not be able to leave. Forget your home. With it, you will never be reunited."
"We apologize. We didn't know the forest belonged to you. Please let us out. We will never come back," Lucy cried. The spirit replied,
"I'll show you mercy, for you are sincere. Mysteries of my forest await you. Solve them all, and you will be able to leave."
Then he magically teleported them to the deepest, darkest part of the forest and vanished out of sight. As Eddie and Lucy walked around trying to find their way out of the forest, they came upon a river. They had to cross it to continue their journey. There were 3 different bridges in front of them. Which one should they choose to move to the other side? Do you see the weird river monster hiding under the stone bridge? It looks dangerous. And the wooden bridge looks so old, it can crash at any minute. So, they should choose this one. After Eddie and Lucy crossed the bridge, they saw 3 different paths in front of them. The first road led to a cave where giant hungry trolls were living. The second road led to the house of evil witches who needed human blood for a spell they were casting that would allow them to stay young forever. And the third road led to a swamp where an 8-headed snake was waiting for its prey. Which path should they follow? They should choose the third road because if you look carefully, you can see that up ahead, the road is forked too. It means that there's a fourth path they can take if they continue walking on this one, and they won't end up in the swamp after all. When they arrived at the end of the fourth path, they saw a wizard's hut. They thought he might be able to help them, but the gate was locked. When they tried to force it open, a magical quill came flying towards them from one of the windows of the hut and started writing a riddle in the air.
The only being who can let you in is my familiar Arthur the Owl. He must be sleeping on a tree at this hour. To convince him, you must bring him his favorite flower. Yet, if you cannot spot him in the next few seconds, I can't help you, and forever in this forest you'll have to wander.
Can you spot where the owl is? Look there! Eddie and Lucy managed to spot not 1, but 3 owls standing on a tree branch. Only one of them was Arthur. If they don't figure out which one of them is Arthur, they won't be able to get help from the wizard. The first owl said, "The third owl is not Arthur." The second owl said,
I am not Arthur.
and the third owl said,
I am Arthur.
However, only one of them was telling the truth, and the others were lying. Can you figure out which one is Arthur? If the first owl was Arthur, then both he and the second owl would be telling the truth. If the third owl was Arthur, then he and the first owl would be telling the truth. But only one of them is telling the truth, remember? So the second owl must be Arthur. Once Eddie and Lucy figured out which one was Arthur, the remaining owls flew away. Then Lucy asked him what his favorite flower was. Arthur answered with a riddle.
I can grow very tall. I am of the color yellow. When I am young, I follow the closest star in the sky. Can you tell what flower I am?
Arthur's favorite flower is the sunflower. Eddie and Lucy had to bring a sunflower to Arthur for him to let them in. They asked him where they could find one, and Arthur told them that they could get it from the sunflower field that was located between the cornfield and the wheat field. When they asked which direction they should go, Arthur said this.
If you went east, took a right turn, covered some distance in that direction, then took a left turn, and finally took another left turn, which direction would you be facing? That's the direction you must go.
Can you tell what direction that is? It's north. After Eddie and Lucy had walked for some time, an angry leprechaun jumped onto them out of nowhere and knocked them out with fairy dust. They opened their eyes in a prison cell. The leprechaun said,
You stole my pot of gold and you're going to stay in this prison until you tell me where you hid it.
Eddie said, We don't know anything about your gold, but the leprechaun didn't believe him. Suddenly, Lucy saw something strange that could help them. There was another prison cell in front of them with 3 different prisoners. Lucy noticed that one of them was going to try to escape. She suggested making a deal with the leprechaun. She said, I will tell you which prisoner is planning to escape if you let us go. He's probably the one who stole your gold, and I promise we'll help you find it once you free us. The leprechaun agreed to the terms. Take a look at these 3 prisoners. Can you tell who's trying to escape? It's the 3rd prisoner. He has a map sticking out of his pocket. He must be up to something. The leprechaun took the map from that prisoner and let Lucy and Eddie go. He said,
But now you have to help me find my pot of gold.
Lucy noticed a couple of notes at the back of the escape map. The first one said, Find the pot of gold in the fields of gold. What do you think that means? Remember what Arthur said? He informed Lucy and Eddie about 3 different fields: sunflower, corn, and wheat. These 3 things are all yellow or golden. It could only mean that the leprechaun's pot of gold is in one of these fields. The road from the leprechaun's prison to the fields was foggy. They lost their way and arrived at part of the forest that even the leprechaun didn't even know about. Eddie immediately noticed 3 unusual things. Can you spot them? Even though it's still daytime, the place is dark. The mushrooms on the ground are actually tiny houses. And finally, one of the butterflies flying there in the distance is no butterfly at all. It's a fairy. As soon as Eddie spotted the fairy, it flew next to them and said,
The fairy mother wanted me to bring everyone food, but when I asked what she wanted, she only said this: remove the outside, cook the inside, eat the outside, and throw away the inside. What I want is what this is. But I don't know what that means. Can you help me, please? Do you know the answer?
It's a corn on the cob. The fairy thanked them for helping her. Lucy then told her that they were actually on their way to the sunflower, corn, and wheat fields, but they had lost their way. The fairy told them she was going there to get the corn on the cob, or 2. They all followed her and arrived at the fields. After the fairy got her corn, she asked them what they were looking for. The leprechaun said,
We're looking for my pot of gold.
The fairy told them that there was a maze in all 3 fields. At the center of each maze, there was a pot of gold, but only one pot had real gold in it, and the others were fake. The real one was in the maze that had the shortest way from start to center. Can you tell which one that is? It's the sunflower maze. The leprechaun, happy to get his gold back, bid farewell to Eddie and Lucy. They picked a sunflower for Arthur and headed back to the wizard's hut. On their way there, they heard a scream. They ran toward it and saw 3 princesses. They all said they needed help because 2 monsters were following them. Only one of them was a real princess who was telling the truth. The other 2 were actually monsters. Can you tell who? The real princess is the second one. If you look closer, you can see that the first princess has a monster's tail, and the third princess has tiny ogre ears. So she would be one of the monsters chasing the real princess too. After helping the princess, Eddie and Lucy arrived at the hut and gave Arthur the sunflower. In return, he let them in. The wizard greeted them and asked what he could do for them. They said they wanted to get back home. The wizard said he knew a spell to open a portal, but the special ingredient he needed was coded. The wizard showed them the page in the spell book. Can you tell what the special ingredient is? It's one piece of feather from a crow. The wizard prepared the spell, but something went wrong with it, and instead of 1, 3 magical portals appeared. Behind the first one, they could see a knight holding an axe. Behind the second one, they could see a robot shooting lasers from its eyes. Behind the third one, they could see a vampire with a dagger in his hands. Only the safest one would transport them home. Which one is it? It's the door with the vampire, of course. The dagger is silver, and vampires can't touch that. That must only mean he is not a real vampire, maybe some guy in a costume. Who knows?